This meeting is being recorded.
Thank you very much, everyone, for being here. This is the CreateDon'tHate Show with MissNatasha Connects. I really appreciate you being here and watching this episode. My intention is to interview 10,000 people, asking them the question, why do you decide to create instead of hate? I have a lovely gentleman here that I will ask to introduce himself, but I have 3 words that I thought of when I thought of asking him to be on the show. And one is resilient. One is, I have more than 3. One is community oriented. One is loving. And the last one is dedicated. So if you could please introduce yourself, and that'd be wonderful.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. So the name is Nigel Hunter. I'm an educator, I guess motivational speaker / community advocate, youth oriented. I work in the school system, as well as I have my own business called Together We Organize, collaborating to create change. And yeah, that is me. All of those words that you use, I appreciate, and I try to live by them. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I thank you for that.
Yeah,
I really do. I believe that I say this a lot. If you didn't say no, I mean, if you said no and you didn't say yes, could you imagine where you'd be?
I know.
So it's like, I used to say no a lot, and it didn't get me anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I started to say no to the things I needed to say no to.
Right, exactly.
But then when I started saying yes, especially to my Lord, especially to myself, especially to the opportunities that I may fail and then come back and then win. It's just helpful to give certain things a chance, so then you can see how big it could be.
For sure. And I think it starts like that. You realize, when you realize who you are and your identity, you say yes to certain things, and then you also say no to certain things as well, because you're like, that doesn't align with who I am, where I'm trying to go, who I'm trying to be. And so you learn how to say no. And no I think yes is powerful, but no is also powerful too, when you say no to the right things. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Once I did that, my whole life changed for the better.
Yeah, for the better.
So for this episode, I have to ask you the same question, but I'm going to ask if you answer it in both your business and your full-time and your full-time, right? Right. So I'll start off with the first question. Did the industry you're in choose you, or did you choose the industry?
I think it's a little bit of both, to be honest with you. Because I started off, I didn't go to school. First and foremost, I first was my undergrad was totally different than what I ended up doing, because I did my undergrad in theology, which was like becoming a pastor and so forth. And I still believe that that's an important aspect of who I am, in the sense of my life and my journey and so forth. But when I finished doing that, I was still in the US at the time, and I was working at an after-school program. And I was like, man, I really like working with kids, you know what I'm saying? And it's something that I never really thought about until I was in that setting. And it wasn't until I was, on my way to go home, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to come back to Toronto. Somebody who their mother is in education was like, you should apply for Teachers College. And I was like, okay, let me try it out. I didn't get in the first time, here comes the resiliency part. I didn't get in the first time, and I was like, okay, let me do some other stuff. And, that's when I got into a little bit of acting, a little bit of writing for television, creating a show, different things like that. And then, I applied again, and then I got in. So, yeah, I would say I chose it, but it also chose me, you know? And I'd say even, I think you can speak to this, your business is almost a part of your identity, right? Or it should be, right? So it's something that you didn't realize was who you are. And so when you start doing it, you realize, man, this has always been a part of me. I've just never really utilized it. So yeah, that's what I'd say for my business, is that it's a part of my identity. It's who I am. And it's just me sharing that with the rest of the world and collaborating with like-minded people, you know? So yeah.
Wow, I never even caught that with you. Like all the things just merge into one.
Yeah.
Even your approach to young people, you do it with grace and you do it with empathy. I'm just saying because I'm not there, right? I'm not there, and
I
that's
think the one thing I've always remembered is that I don't forget how I was as a young person. You know what I mean? And so that never leaves my mind, because when I'm in spaces with young people, I sometimes see myself, right? And I remember and now I can appreciate it, what my teachers, what my educators, what the people what my mother, what the people who really cared about me did for me. They brought in people to speak to us. And, you know, during that time when we heard it, we were like, what is this guy talking to me for about this? You know, what is this? But it, you know, it eventually, it might not happen right away, but eventually those same words or those same conversations are the things that make you make the better decisions, you know, when you're older. So, yeah.
It's so true.
Yeah.
One of my teachers that did that for me was Miss Devonzeni. I felt like she saw me, and she made me feel like it's okay to be me.
That's
But
that she saw you, so that's huge. That's huge.
Right.
Especially when you're trying to empower kids. When you're trying to empower kids and show them their worth and their value, they have to be seen and know that they're seen, right?
Yeah. I believe even as people of color, we want to teach someone something before we just acknowledge them and how they are and how they are. So make sure you do this, you know. Make sure, and you're not like saying, you know, you're doing good, you're doing wonderful. I love how you're reaching far, and you could have been reaching over there. Like we forget that part.
Right. Reinforce what they're already doing. Yeah. Yeah. That's important.
Great. So I believe you answered this, but what made you gravitate to the company you're in or create the company you have? So I'll go with the company you have because you kind of touched on both, but I'll just stick with the company you have.
Well, you know, it's funny. I was working with someone who was a friend of mine in undergrad and university. And when we came back from school, she was the one who came up with the name. And it was a group of us who were like, you know, creative-minded folks where we would, you know, write poetry, do spoken word poetry in different places and so forth. So the name Together We Organize came from that. And we started off by, you know, doing poetry or sharing stories through poetry. And that's how the company started. And so we had the opportunity when we were younger to perform in front of like, you know, the Canadian government, different events in the city. We did performances for them. And so that's how it started. Unfortunately, or, you know, God forbid, you know, she passed away. But I was like, you know what, I want this company or what we stood for to still keep going, right? And so that's where the Together We Organize Consulting Inc. came from, you know? And so it's something where it still has that element because I'm a spoken word artist, you know, motivational speaking, and also educator. So it has those elements of it, but it's also that aspect of Together We Organize. It's not just something that we do on our own. We collaborate with like-minded companies or community groups or even school systems or whatever it is, or private organizations, so that we can collaborate to create change. Yeah.
Creating instead of hating each and every day and beyond.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And making sure to keep it like that focus, even allowing for in your teaching to bring out the poetry to tell stories in order to heal, like the young people healing through their stories. It's
Hmm.
huge. It's huge. Storytelling helps. It really does.
It does. It does. And that everybody has a story to tell, right? And has the ability to really create on their own. It's all about just giving them the ability to be like, yo, your voice matters. What you have to say matters. And we want to hear it. And we want to hear from you, right? Because
Mhm.
your story is something that no one else can tell, right? Yeah. Hmm.
What are the skills you would use the least within your field?
What are the skills that I use the least within my field? That's a hard question to answer. Because I think I use a little bit of everything. I might not realize it, but I think I use a little bit of everything. So I wouldn't say there's any skill that I don't use. I think I
And
use
that's
it.
okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. Okay.
Mhm.
Do you have meaningful relationships and how do you nourish them?
Hmm. Yeah, definitely have meaningful relationships. I think the the best way I try to nourish them is through communication, but transparent communication. Let me say that. Transparent communication is how I try to nourish them in the sense of if I want my relationships to have that level of vulnerability, I have to be willing to be vulnerable myself, right? And so that means that I have to put myself out there first to share how I'm feeling, what I'm going through, in order for them to feel like they have a safe space to do the same. So I'd say, yeah, vulnerability or intentional vulnerability, but yeah,
That's
that's
cool.
it. Yeah. Hmm.
Okay.
I'd say consistency too,
Mhm.
staying in touch and making sure that I stay in touch with them and they try their best to stay in touch with me. And you don't stay in touch with them because they're staying in touch with you. You stay in touch with them because you want that relationship and you want to work on it, right? So yeah, something I had to realize, oh, they're not calling me, so I'm not calling them. But that doesn't really help because you want to talk to them, so then reach out, you know?
Yeah.
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 Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I giggle because even with uh uh as my young people grow and they're on their own, I had to learn to scale back my calling, but don't
Hmm.
stop it.
Hmm.
For those, you
Right.
know, don't stop it. Just scale it back. Okay, they have lives.
Right. Right. And they want to know they have lives too.
Mm-hmm.
They want you to know they have lives, I should say.
All right. How do you maximize the return on your time?
That's such a good question.
Mm.
Maximizing the return on your time. I think you before we started recording, you kind of said it. Maximizing the return on your time is by managing your time, right? And setting goals and staying, consistent with those goals and doing the best to be disciplined and consistent. So I think that's the best way you maximize time is by goal setting and planning and preparing, right? As you do that, you'll be more maximized with your time because you've actually allocated, your time properly. It's not something I do perfectly. I'm still a work in progress with that. Let me say that out loud. The elephant is already in the room as I can see the picture.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, it's just really maximizing your time and managing your time properly so that you accomplish what you need to accomplish. And some people, they're really good at looking at the big picture, but you have to be able to break that big picture down into what does that look like on a day-to-day basis, an hour-by-hour basis, a minute-by-minute basis, then a week basis, then a monthly basis, then 6 months, 3 months, a year, right? What does that look like in 5 years, 10 years, right? So you have to be able to break that down. I'm great with the long term, like this is what I want to see in the end, but it's the skill of really breaking that down to, okay, what does that look like, step by step, so yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that because I struggle and it's good to ask others so then you can learn what you could take from it as well.
Right, 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 right.
Right.
And I think the most successful people are those who have that consistent routine of what they do on a day-to-day basis. I think that's how a lot of successful people maximize their time. Either that means that they get up at, 4 in the morning or 5 in the morning and before everybody else is awake, and they get those certain things done to put them in that headspace of, focus and so forth. And then when the day starts, they're already in that mind state and they're not, catching up as you would say, you know what I mean? So
Yeah, and it happens.
yeah, exactly. You got to make it so it's second nature, Yeah,
Knowing your optimal time too,
yeah.
or how to create it.
True.
How do you create your optimal time and what does that look like?
Right, right.
Some people can't do it without coffee. Some people do it with coffee. What I realized is that if you have coffee before, that's not really a good look. So you got to have it later.
Yeah, yeah.
It works out like when you find your things. Like I have some items now in the tea/bush drawer that
hmm
has much more better effect in my on my body longevity wise.
Right, right,
Is that I'm gonna have a coffee every morning first.
right, right. And that's a part of knowing yourself. Yeah, knowing yourself and knowing what works with you, and also, being aware of the fact that you understand that this is me working at my optimal level, right? That self-awareness is key, because a lot of people don't know that, oh yeah, I'm actually working at my optimal level. Let me see how I can get back to this and get to this more consistently, right? So yeah. hmm
And now that it's getting real nice outside, I said to myself that I'm going to be doing jumping jacks
hmm
on the drive.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Has to be for 10 minutes, no stopping. Or if you stop, you gotta get back on that, get back on that.
Right.
So the whole entire April, that's what without rain. I don't know about the rain, but that's like one of my mental, okay, this is happening, this is happening. Okay, what is that gonna be looking like?
hmm hmm
And just doing it because I'd love uh they say black don't crack. We love to use that statement, but we do crack. And sometimes you don't see it,
Something that is, it's a
right?
mental cracking, right? Yeah.
So I want to be optimal in all the senses, spiritually, financially, physically, all the things.
hmm
Mhm.
hmm
All right.
So,
Oops. Sorry.
no. I was saying that's what's up. That's what's up.
Yeah.
hmm
In
Yeah.
your opinion, how does one become great?
Hmm. Um, I would say, in my opinion, how one becomes great is through discipline and consistency. That's what I would say. That's how you become great. Greatness is not, I would say, greatness is not something that you aspire to. It's something that you do on a day-to-day basis, right? It's what you do every single day that creates greatness, as opposed to saying, when I accomplish A, B, or C, that I'm great then. No, you're great from the time you are consistent on a daily basis and disciplined on a daily basis with the things that you need to accomplish. That's where greatness comes from. The people that we look upon and we kind of respect and say, these were great people, is because they did something consistent on a daily day basis. And when we hear from them, we hear the Kobe stories, the Michael Jordan stories, but particularly the Kobe stories, is that he was great because he was disciplined. He was disciplined, regardless of what everybody else was doing. He knew that, at a certain time in the morning, he was up and he was practicing. So when people were getting up to practice, he had already finished practicing on his own, right? So I think that applies to us on a day-to-day basis, is that when you're disciplined and you're consistent, and it's something that you do on a regular basis, you're gonna eventually be great, because it's the things that people don't see when the camera is not on, you know what I mean? And when the lights are not on, it's what you do during that time that really, when the lights are on, will show how much you've dedicated your energy and time, So yeah, that's what I'd say.
Yes. All right. I hope y'all are listening. How are you of service to others?
Hmm. I think I've from an early age, I made the commitment that I would always do things to give back. And it's not from a place of where I feel like I've acquired a certain place. It's just in the sense of having that mind state that you are, you're here for a purpose, but your purpose does not just involve you being good. It means that everyone around you, truly, if you're truly giving back, everybody you come in contact with, everybody that is around you will be better because of that mind state. So I think it starts here. It starts here and in your heart, that that your purpose here is greater than yourself, and that the more you invest in others is the more you invest in you. Because if you're making other people better, then truly you're investing in you. And that's the universal law, right? It says that if we give, things will be given to us, right? So we got to learn to give not only of our resources, but also of our time, our gifts, everything else as well. Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I had a book coach who really did pour into me and made me understand, like, it's okay to be of service to yourself first and understand what you need to do in order to get that internal self going.
Mm-hmm.
Then you'll be able to be more of service to others.
True. Mm-hmm.
Also, you're just feeling like you're being, when you get the IV and the blood is being taken away, everything's being taken away, and you're not even replenishing yourself.
Right. No, self-care is key. You have to be able to, you can't give what you don't have, right? So you have to pour into you first and foremost, and as you pour into you, you'll be able to pour into others as well. Mm-hmm.
I learned how to be quiet. And some people say, oh, yeah, right, but I did. I learned how to be quiet, and I learned how to listen. I learned how to listen, and then learn how to listen to what my path is.
Mm-hmm.
And through that, I'm being of service to other people that really do need it, as opposed to people who are just using.
Mm-hmm. For sure. When you say quiet, do you mean in the sense of being still in your own mind? And yeah. That's key.
Yes.
And that's discipline. That takes discipline to do, because there's so much going on outside internally that we don't really talk about. And we're always on this, I gotta be. And really in that stillness is where you hear, what you should be doing or what you shouldn't be doing, and they're really hearing, your inner voice, or that inner, as they say, God speaks to you in that silence, in that quietness, right? So taking that opportunity to be quiet so you can hear, Yeah.
I'm getting some traction,
Mm-hmm.
And when I think about it, I'm like, what if it stopped? I would not be here.
Mm-hmm.
So I really do I really do take moments to make sure I understand others and not critique them in any sort of kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
Because yes, we have to be careful of who we're around and so forth. But I'm speaking about just understanding that they are going through things, and who am I to be coming down on them for whatever it is, I try my best to again figure out what I can be of service to for them, as opposed to thinking about what I want to take.
Mm-hmm. What's that statement where it says we and we don't judge? What's that? What's that?
We listen.
We listen and we don't judge.
That one is it shows, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our humanity. It shows our humanity. Right. And then the silly things that we do.
Yeah.
Times, Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you for that. Mm-hmm. What have you done for yourself in the last month?
You're talking about self-care.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about self-care. You know what? I actually got I think it's called a pedicure.
Yes.
I've gotten a pedicure, my month, it's March. My birthday is in March, so I was like, I'm gonna do something special for me, and that was getting a pedicure. Something that I don't usually do, and I actually got a massage too. I did that, and I did some physio, that type of stuff. So it's all important, that balance, taking care of yourself, mentally, physically, spiritually, socially is important, So yeah, being intentional about it too, taking out and booking time where you have time slotted for that particular thing is important, and don't wait until you have to do it. But do it and make it a routine. It's something that you do. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. What do you do to demonstrate that you're grateful?
Oh wow. What do I do to demonstrate that I'm grateful? I think it's a state of mind. There's one thing that I do to demonstrate that I'm grateful is that journaling what I'm grateful for, the things that I'm grateful for, and writing them down. I think that's powerful to me personally, because then I can look at it and reread it and be like, man, I never thought of that. And so something that I try to do. I try to do it more often. Is just write down the things that I'm grateful for, and be thankful. Always having gratitude is important. It keeps you humble. Keeps you humble. It keeps you always recognizing that what you have accomplished is something that you didn't do on your own. It took God, it took people, it took mentors and different people in your life for you to accomplish the things you accomplished. So, gratefulness is a state of mind, is a state of being, is what I would say. Yeah.
Even if I even say I'm grateful for the thrashing, like, yes, it's hard to say it when you're going through it, but I'm grateful for it because if we didn't fall, we couldn't learn how to get up.
100%. 100%. That's a part of the process. That is definitely a part of the process, is that you got to drop and scrape your knee for you to realize, oh man, I'm not going to do that again. Yeah. So,
or to avoid that, make sure that you know the right people to be around. So you can learn from them, so you don't even have to scrape your knee.
Exactly. It's true. People that avoided those things, you can learn from them for sure.
So we're down to 2 questions, and the second last one is how do you navigate hope?
Wow. These questions are really good. How do I navigate hope? I think I navigate hope the same way I navigate faith. Faith and hope, I think, go hand in hand. Because the things that I hope for, I kind of on everyday basis will invest in those things, right? And so even though I can't see it and it's not tangibly in front of me, I work as if I already have it, or it's something that I'm about to acquire. And so that's how I navigate it, right? So even though hope is not something that you can tangibly hold on to, you live as if you already have it, or that you're about to have it, and you make those steps, and you also create those goals in mind so that you can accomplish that goal. So I think that's how I navigate it. Like hope and faith are hand in hand. So it's something I truly believe in, and it's something that I have faith that it will happen. Then I'm gonna act, and my life is gonna show based on my action that I believe in it, based on the decisions and the things that I prioritize. Yeah. Yeah.
I was a big worrier. I think that question is there. Worry is a thing.
It's real. Yeah.
You're not believing, like you're not doing what you just said. So, thank you for that, because like it just made me understand what I was doing and how I came out of it. It's still there, because for instance, when we have our young people out here, or people we may know who have children, that's a different kind of worry. And then brings on the fact that, oh, so you don't believe me? Then God's gonna look at, well, you don't believe me? You don't believe me? That's what God's gonna say. And you
Mm-hmm.
gotta believe him.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's like, but look at outside though.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's like it just builds that notion of how do you navigate it. And one time it came to my head and I'm just like, I gotta ask. This is gonna be one of the core questions.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because I need to know how others are doing it so I could, and others out there listening can be if they are not telling their people, their loved ones, their family members, friends, maybe it's a conversation that needs to be had.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because it's hard to navigate it out here.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Difficult.
Yeah. And then you gotta, I think it takes that level of reflection in the sense that you gotta look at the things that you have now that you actually were like, that was once something I was believing for, you know what I'm saying? And now I have it. So whatever I did to get that, it was actually successful, you know, and actually worked. So it's like you gotta be able to, you know, in your life be like, okay, this is something I'm believing, you know, believing God for. I you know, let me walk in it, let me do it. And then when it's accomplished, it's real. Because I think faith is tangible, but you have to live in that realm, right? You have to really truly live in that realm because it's easier not to, you know what I mean? Like, because yeah, if I don't see it, I'm not gonna do it and so forth. But then you stay in that box, right? And you never really accomplish the things that you're supposed to accomplish. But if you truly believe and have faith in things, then do it, you know, walk in it and you'll see it come to pass, you know. And it's easier said than done, don't get me wrong, because it's a fight every single day, especially if it's not in front of you and it's not something you can grab onto. You have to constantly, you know, believe that it's there even when it's not there, you know. And I've heard people do where they, you know, even if it's like, for example, like a Bible verse, you know, and then it's somebody else's life, but they'll put their name in it and they'll read it as if it's them, you know what I mean? And they'll see it that way as well. So if it can be done for that person, it could be done for me. So I'm going to put my name in there and accept it as if, you know, it's mine to accomplish as well, you know? So yeah.
That's a big nugget there. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's something I learned. Somebody else shared that and I was like, yo, that makes sense. You know?
Like an affirmation kind of thing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I think the person was sharing that they were believing God for a child, and you know, and so even when they didn't have the evidence of it, they, you know, they would constantly quote a scripture to themselves and recite it out loud, and then they went so far as to had a baby room, put the name of the baby up in the room. You know, put the chair there, the crib there. This is all before they even found out that their wife was pregnant, right? But they did all of those things in faith, right? And then it eventually came to pass, right? So do you have that level of faith or hope that you're gonna do things in life, in this reality right now, without having the evidence of it to show how much you believe that it's gonna happen? You know what I mean? Yeah.
I was thinking about something like this a little bit when I was outside seeing the snow melting.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have faith that it's going to be spring.
Right.
Because
Right.
it's the usual process.
Right. Right. Right.
Thank you.
Just like you have faith that the sun is going to rise, right? You know, it's not even something you question. You're like, yeah, tomorrow when the sun rises, da 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 da. You know, you're making plans for something that's technically, it could not rise for you, you know what I mean? Or for the person, or, you know, who's planning for that next thing, right? So yeah, it's good.
Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Lastly,
Mm-hmm.
how do you create instead of hate?
How do I create instead of hate? How do I do that? I do it through writing. I'm a writer. I think I use my poetry or my spoken word or my writing to create. Also, I think it's my life story, if you want to call it that. I use my life story or what I experience to create instead of hate. And I also think that it's sort of how would I say this? It's a scientific thing, if you want to call it that, right? So creating is life and hating is death, right? So You gotta, if you're gonna create and continue to create, you know that you're creating life, right? As opposed to when you're hating, it's creating death, right? And it's not just death to the people that you're hating, but it's also death to you because you're hating, right? So I see it as it's a part of an energy, right? Just like people say they want positive energy, creating is positive energy. And so as long as you continue to invest in creating and being creative and inspiring and empowering other people to create, then that's how I do it. You know what I mean? So it's something that is bringing life. That's how I see it. And so as I create, I bring life. I bring things to life. And those things that I've brought to life will bring other things to life, right? And people will be a part of that process as well. Not to say that I bring people to life, but because of what I'm doing has brought life to me, it will bring life to other people as well. So yeah.
Shining that light of creation.
Right.
Wow. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
That was like so impactful. So impactful.
I'm glad to be here. This is a great space, you know. Create, don't hate is a space.
That's right. You know, I can't wait. I'm gonna say this because of everything that you said today. I already wrote 2 songs. One soca and one kind of rap inspired. That I want some Canadian artists to
Almost
all
like a theme song.
Yep, to all collaborate and come together.
Yeah.
That would be the lick.
That would be dope. That would be dope.
That would be the lick. Because why? We're creating instead of hating.
Yeah. That needs to be done more often. I remember back in the day, I can say that. You know, that was something that we'd see more often, like different artists coming together and with one song and one theme in mind. We need to get back to that for sure.
That's right.
Yeah. We need to get back to that, you know?
So I'm hoping, you know, that
I'm hoping take an event, right? It shouldn't take an event like a Black Lives Matter or COVID or something like that for us to do that. You know, we should do it regardless of those things.
That's right. There are people that will just be so uplifted. But anyway, that's like something that I got a lot of stares or laughs. But if it and when it comes to pass.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it would.
All right. So I'm just going to wrap up here by saying why I started the Create Don't Hate show, and then ask you, Nigel, if you have anything else you'd like to say, and then if you could give us your contact information. So let me go. Thank you all so much for being a part of the Create Don't Hate show. We really, really appreciated your viewership, and I hope that you share this and share why you decide to create instead of hate in the comments as well. So the Create Don't Hate show was born out of frustration. The frustration of individuals hating on people like me with differences. We wanted to start a movement of hope, courage, and love to build community and connection in the process. The Create Don't Hate show is a real practical way of encouraging hope to those who have been muted and shut down just because of who they are. Create Don't Hate was and always will be an anthem that I would play to get through the tough times. Thank you so much. And Nigel, if you can please give us any bits of words you have left after all of this and where we could get in touch with you.
Okay, I'll give you where you can get in touch with me. My Instagram is TWO Consulting Inc. INC, and that's on Instagram. You can get in touch with me on Instagram. Send me a message. You know, I'll respond to it directly. But that's how you can get in contact with me. You know, and I'm just happy to be a part of this Create Don't Hate episode. Can I call it that? The Create Don't Hate episode. You know, and it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure being here. And thank you, MissNatasha, for all you do. And we look forward to more episodes to come and hearing all the positivity that's happening because of this movement. So we appreciate you and we salute you. You know.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.